Okay, this is Terry Hallet from Hummel Aviation. I wanted to take a little time and do a video for spinner assembly for the 12-inch spinner available from Hummel Aircraft for the all three designs. There's also this would not apply to the V-twin engine, just the half-cylinder or two-cylinder Volkswagens and the four-cylinder Volkswagen from Hummel Engines or whoever, but it's a 12-inch spinner with a bolt pattern for the VW engine. He will also do a spinner for the V-twin. It's just a different bolt pattern. So there's three ways to buy the spinner from Matt at Hummel Aircraft. It's the back plate and nose cone. With the basic one is going to be the back plate is going to be drilled for your. This happens to go on an Ultra Cruiser that we're doing, so it's a 79 millimeter bolt pattern, 6-bolt pattern. If this are going to be for an H5 or the 4-cylinder engine, it would have a 4-inch bolt pattern in it. And then the nose cone, tell Matt what prop you're using. If it's from Lonnie Prince Aircraft, we're real familiar with that, so we know what that pattern is. Even if it's not his prop, it's somebody else's prop, go ahead and have him mark this. I think he'll mark it unless you tell him not to, but because it gives you the two prop cutouts 180 degrees apart. So if your cutout's going to be a little different, at least you can start from this leading edge mark and make it fit your prop. So the next way it would come would be as a kit. So it'll be the back plate, nose cone, and then all the parts, the prop bolts, nuts, washers, the nut plates. There's 10 of them to attach the spinner cone, those 632 screws, and of course the rivets for the nut plates. That would be a spinner kit. And then a completed spinner, again, he has to know what prop you're using. If it's not a standard prop that he's familiar with, this may not be an option to you. But if it's a Prince propeller, he's got the patterns for that, and he'll cut this out and polish it and pre-drill, put all the nut plates together so that it'll actually be assembled for you, ready to go on the airplane. So to get started, we're going to put this spinner together for an Ultra Cruiser. So I got my package here from Matt. The first thing we want to do is do these cutouts. Back plate's already drilled. We can kind of set that aside. So we're going to cut these out. This is a pretty soft material. It's about 75,000 thick, 70 to 75,000 thick after it's been through the process. So, but it's soft. I'm going to say it's 3003, something like that. That the spinners use. So we're going to try to cut this out. What I do is I take, and I mark this up for visual reference, but I'm going to take a unibit and I'm going to drill holes through here. And then I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to cut this up and out. I may cut it across here just to get this material out of the way, because you don't want to deform this material around the spinner, this around the edge of the prop. You want it all to come out of the middle. So be real careful. Again, when you're cutting, you're going to use the snips, and you got to have some place for the material to go, because if you just start into it, it's going to push this down and this part up. So you got to have material for it to relieve. So get as much of this out as you can before you get close to the line. And then I would cut maybe within 3/16 of an inch of a line, 1/8 inch, until you're good at it. You can always go up and creep a little, just take a little edge out as you go. The smaller this piece is coming out, the less you're going to deform this. So keep that in mind. So we get that roughed out up to the line, if you will. And then I use some drum sanders and a drill that I can do the big areas with to sand. Now I've got much better control. I'm going to sand up to that. For me, the line's going to go away. I'm going to sand so I don't see the red anywhere. And then for this smaller area up here, it's a different radius. I'm going to clean it up, get it to the line. And then the most important thing is, now we've got this cut out so the line is gone. Let me grab this other spinner just for reference. So everything's cut out. Now it's really important that this gets polished. And I use some Scotch-Brite drums, we call them. It's a fibrous material that you can really polish that edge. You know, you can do it with a file. You can file it to get it as smooth as you can, but then a file is not polished. So a Scotch-Brite material, you can polish that up. And the way I tell people when I know it's polished, when I run my fingernail across it and I don't feel anything. I don't feel any bumps or nicks or anything like that. So then you know that it's cleaned and ready to go. So the next step then is going to be to locate your holes. Well, you got to determine the orientation for these, because right now you haven't determined how the spinner is going to go on here yet. So that next step is to take your propeller. I happen to have one that's slightly modified. I'm going to put this on the back plate. It doesn't matter where it goes, but just know that once it's positioned, that's where it's going to be, you know, all the time. Then I'm going to take my spinner that I've cleaned this all up and polished, and I'm going to check the fit. I'm going to know that what I want is about at least an 1/8 inch of clearance around this prop. So let me pull it up here so you can see it. So that's pretty good. We got about 1/8 to 3/16 clearance. That's kind of what you want. You can see that I've drawn a line 3/8 off the edge. This is supposed to be a 3/4 inch flange. This one looks like it's about 5/8 maybe. So the way I do that is I take my Sharpie, I set the spinner cone on the bench, hold my Sharpie at 3/8 of an inch, and then just spin the spinner against it. That'll give you that line around there. Okay? Now keep in mind that from this point forward, we've determined that this is where it's going to go on the back plate. So you can put a couple little marks here for now and mark this so you know that that's what you lined up. But that's the position that we're going to be in. So now what I do is I take, again, a prick punch, whatever kind of punch you use. I like these punches because they don't take a lot of pressure, and I just want to mark this. So I'm going to, I've taken a Harbor Freight steel rule, and this is how I mark my spinner. You can do it with a dressmaker's, you know, a dressmaker's tape or whatever, but you want to start your mark at a 1/2 inch from the openings on both sides. Take that, divide by 2, that's your center, divide by 2, that's your 5 screws that you're going to have in there. So I won't even get into that tool there, but so you're going to space out 5 rivets or 5 screw holes along here. Once I've got that, again, we'll put this back in place just for reference. Okay, it's down tight. You're not going to do it on a towel. I'm just doing this so you can see it. But do it on a hard, flat surface so that the back plate is against the table. This cone is down to the table. It'll run pretty true if you do that. So then I'm going to take my prick punch 3/8 off the table, and I'm going to snap a mark on each one of these holes, each one of those locations. I'm going to take a 3/32 drill bit because that's what is easiest for me to get into that mark that I've made and drill a hole to get it located. I'm going to drill, and I'm going to put a cleco. I'm going to take then a 3/32 cleco and put in the hole when I get started. I don't know if this is still set up that way or not, but okay, I had pre-drilled that before. So I'm going to drill one here, I'm going to spin it around, make sure this is down tight all the time. I'm going to put one on the back side, then I'm going to drill the other 8 holes. Once those holes are in there, leave a couple clecos in. Now you got to open them up to the body drill for the nut plate screw. Okay, these are 632, so it takes a number 18 or 19, 4.5 millimeter, something like that, drill. And I'm going to open all these holes up to that size. And I think maybe once you've done that, of course, now everything's located for holes. I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to get that much done, and then we'll talk about how the nut plates go together. Okay, so I've been around with my 3/32 drill for the pilot for everything, and then followed up with number 18 drill, which is the body drill for the screws to go through. Now, one thing that's really important is that you be sure and get this really well deburred, because when you drill it, you got a burr inside of here and you got a burr on the back plate. Get that deburred and polished up real nice, because again, anything that's got a stress riser in it may have a tendency to crack, a possibility for a crack. So that's pretty well done, except for polishing the holes, cleaning that up. Now we got the back plate to put the nut plates in. I'll just go over nut plates real quick, because I'm assuming most everybody knows how to do this. Two tools that are really important. We're going to want flush rivets holding this nut plate in here. Okay, so you got to countersink this, and I know people do it with a drill bit and all that, but a microstop is the correct way to do it. So microstop has got a pilot hole, and then it chamfers for the nut plate, or for the rivet. The other thing is a nut plate tool. If you haven't used one of these or seen one of these, you can't go wrong. So we determined the pilot size. This is for a 632. It's got a stud, goes in there. Now I take my 3/32 drill bit and I drill this side. Then I'm going to have a hole there. So the other side has got a stud, two studs, one for the rivet, one for the body. I flip it over. Of course, the hole will be there, and I go through the other side. Okay, so that puts those three holes in perfect spacing. Then I've got to take my countersink and countersink the two rivet holes. Then use you can use, I always squeeze rivets in here because we have them, but they don't come in the kit, because then that's more tools that you have to have. So then they're just flush rivets that come in the package, and you put the 10 nut plates in. So I'll get some of those done and I'll be back.